Beef stew is the next recipe. There's our nutritionals and cost. What do you think of these nutritionals and cost, Jerry? And how do we serve even better nutritionalized food in a lesser expensive portion of beef stew?
Well, here again, we could cut the sodium in half, and we can use less meat. Instead of 30 pounds, we could bring it down to 15 or 20 pounds. And what we would do then is just add more vegetables. Edamame, as I mentioned, there's peas should be in there, and just increase the vegetables.
So wait a second. There's the ingredients in the recipe that we made here, the raw ingredients. You're suggesting, I heard you say edamame. Are kids going to eat soybeans?
Well, there again, I never heard of it 10 years ago, and now I've got two grandkids that are a little bit under 3 years old, and they're teaching me. They eat it as a snack instead of candy.
Okay. To drive this cost down more, I've got the ingredients listed for this recipe. One other thing I would do is in using less beef, I would put dry beans or canned beans into that for to save on the cost. And then once we get into the local food section at the end of this webinar, we're going to talk about how to get local food into this recipe. So we're going to take the beef and toss it with some oil, coat it, get it into the retherm at 350 to brown it, probably 45 minutes. And these recipes are going to be available on the FWE website and in the near future on the OSP website. So you can contact them at any time and we'll get these right to you. There's Jerry taking the brown beef out of the retherm, mixing all the rest of the ingredients into the pan, including salt and the stock, getting that back in the retherm at 350 for probably 2 hours. And then what isn't pictured here is we made a roux with flour and oil and then took this out. We put the roux in, put it back in the retherm to thicken, and then you can see the Climate IQ open. We held it warm in the Climate IQ. Jerry, could you make this dish without this equipment? We know that this is great equipment, but some people don't have these FWE retherms and Climate IQ food holder. What do you do then?
Yeah, if you didn't have the equipment, I mean, it's labor saving if you can use this equipment. But if you have just your regular ovens, regular oven or convection, any recipe we have could be done with your regular equipment.
You kind of flew over the labor piece. How does this equipment save people in labor cost?
Well, if I'm browning off meat or doing different things with vegetables on top of the stove, I have to stand there for 15, 20 minutes and do it in batches so I don't get just liquid. And so I'm taking that 15, 20 minutes and I'm working. What if I put it in the retherm, I close the door and I can do something else for 20 minutes and then just come back after 20 minutes, a half hour, whatever it takes to, whatever I put in there.
And the Climate IQ, which has a moisture component to it that you can set depending on the dish, does the moisture component matter to you? I mean, for years there was no moisture component in this kind of equipment, and we would just hold food warm with no moisture, and we really couldn't hold it warm for too long because it would dry out.
Well, we've tested in the Climate IQ, and it absolutely does, because with the moisture, your meat and vegetables and potatoes aren't drying out, and you're not even getting a crust on the side, which you will with a regular oven.
Okay. And there's our finished product. We know we did have one complaint about people wanted to see this on a cafeteria tray. And what I've been trying to do with these webinars is to get people excited about making more food from scratch. You're already doing a great job with the huge responsibility of feeding kids in America, and sometimes things can get a little mundane, and that's why we put this on plates to just show you another way that food can be. So Jerry, here's the finished stew. I guess our kids going to eat it. What are some options with commodities to drive the cost down on this? And what other garnish possibilities could be there?
Well, we could put pasta with that, or that would be a nice dish with a little small biscuit. Again, if we're adding more dry beans, and that's helping with our cost. I think that, and then with the green, this time of year, if you're getting asparagus, slice some asparagus, that helps with the cost because that, even though asparagus is not cheap, it still costs less than beef.
And also, there's some tomato paste and tomato sauce available through commodities sometimes, so you can use that instead of the chopped tomatoes that I used here. And our kids going to eat this.
Well, they do. As I say, they eat with their eyes, and if we've had students come by and say, "Oh, the peas are green." Well, we didn't cook them for 45 minutes, so they'll stop and they'll give you comments.
Okay. Beef stroganoff is our last recipe today. Before we talk about local food and getting local food into your cafeterias, tell me about these nutritionals, Jerry.
Well, same thing. Knock the sodium down. We can remove some of the amounts of beef and add edamame or dried beans to this recipe, helping us with cost.
I'm going to go back. We have sour cream in the recipe, but we have also pictured yogurt. So why would we offer this option to people?
Well, sour cream was from the original recipe, classic recipe, but if we use the yogurt, we're cutting down on cost and we're knocking down fat.
And we're introducing, that's tofu in that back right next to the pepper shaker. We put some tofu into this recipe, 4.5 pounds of tofu to 20 pounds of beef. Introducing tofu to kids, I think, is important as a protein option. Are kids going to eat this tofu?
Well, we can even remove some more of the beef and add the tofu, but I think they will because once it's mixed in there with the sauce and so forth and the vegetables, you might not even see that it's in there. And you're going to get the taste from your gravy and your sauce.
So we don't want to hide things from kids, but we want to introduce things to kids. And sometimes the easiest way to do that is to tell them, oh, you already ate it because it was in the beef stroganoff yesterday. And so here we are, again, mixing the beef with the oil. And it's the same process where we then put that mixed oil, mixed beef into the retherm. And there's Jerry taking it out after 45 minutes. It's brown, mixing in all the rest of the ingredients except the sour cream or yogurt, putting the stock in, back into the retherm for probably 2 hours, taking it out, holding it warm in the Climate IQ, which again goes up to 190 degrees. I probably wouldn't hold this dish at 190. And then at the end, mixing in the sour cream or the yogurt or a blend of both. And we serve that in the classic way over buttered noodles, wide noodles, with parsley and scallions. Jerry, what other ways can we serve this? I know pasta's sometimes a little heavy for the kids. What else can we serve this over? That wouldn't be the classic stroganoff, but we would be using commodities and driving the cost down.
Well, the classic your rice pilaf would be nice with the stroganoff. Some dried beans with different flavorings in there and olive oil, some onions put to the side or even as a circle around it. A number of vegetables, vegetable medley looks nice on a plate.
Okay.